That was good timing because it's
Yeah,
just 5:30.
5:30. I'll call the meeting to order. Our first item is the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Vice Chair, would you read our mission statement?
Mission of the Marshall Public School District is to educate, support, and prepare all learners for success.
Thank you. Next item is approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second?
My mouse just quit working. Okay, motion's been made by Bill and seconded by Sarah to approve the agenda. Any discussion or changes? If not, I'll call for the vote. The agenda is approved. Next item is Tiger Spotlight. Officer Van Louie, our school resource officer.
Good. We recently celebrated National Law Enforcement Appreciation Day on January 9th, and we want to recognize Sarah. Sarah, and just say a special thank you. Officer Ann Louise shows up daily to our schools to educate and build rapport with the students. She makes sure that the schools remain a safe place for education, and we appreciate all of her dedication and work that she does. So thank you, Sarah, for all you do. If you can come up, we got a certificate for you. We were trying to remember, Sarah, how many years have you been with Marshall Public Schools?
Started in 1997 as a year officer, and 2006 as director of year 17.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Sarah. Sarah, you do a great job with our kids.
Thank you. I enjoy working with them. It keeps the job fun to be able to come and work with kids.
That's good.
Next item is our public forum. Is there anybody from the public that would like to approach the board? This is your time. Next item is a presentation on guided math groups from Principal Thor. Welcome, Peter.
He was a math education major. Am I right, Peter?
That's right.
I don't.
I'll just tie it. You just go to the next one. Well, thank you for having me tonight. When I was asked to talk about guided math, I kind of went back and talked to my PLC math team, which meets weekly, and talked about what they do within their classrooms and why we are doing what we are doing. Guided math, as you see on the chart, takes a lot of training. And so the first, I would say, month or so is a lot of building routines for our students. A lot of our students that struggle with basic math just don't have this understanding of what numbers mean. When they're younger and they don't have to deal with money or deal with numbers, it is really hard for them to understand the bigger concepts. And so we typically try to instill routines throughout their day. Our teachers meet with all three grades meet with their math classes for approximately 75 minutes each day. Second grade is a little bit different. We are not doing guided math within our second grade classrooms yet. One of the main reasons for that is we have a lot of new initiatives at second grade, especially with the really great reading coming through. And so I kind of felt like, hey, let's wait off on that grade. Third and fourth actually came to me at the end of the year last year, and we really talked about our scores. And so I'm going to share some of that with you. Good. Like I said, this was driven by our teachers. We met a day after teachers were out. We looked at all of our MCA data, NWA data, and what they were seeing within their classrooms. And I had teachers that said, we have students that are, the spectrum is this wide. We have students that are 2 or 3, 4 years behind their peers, and then we have students that are well above, that don't need the instruction. They can just read it. They can just see the worksheet. They'll know how to do it. And it takes them 5 minutes to do it. How are we going to meet the needs of these kids so they all grow? And so we kind of talked about, I asked all the teachers what they did within each of their classrooms and how they taught. And I had a couple of teachers that said it really worked well to work with 2 to 3 kids at a time. So we talked about small groups, and that's where guided math, that's where we kind of went with guided math. Our younger elementary teachers do guided reading groups on a regular basis. So this is basically the math version of it. Like I said, this is teacher driven. This is, I didn't have to convince them. I think what was nice was our teacher that had the most growth within her classroom was the person that was doing a lot of this. So then I kind of just said, hey, I'll let you guys talk. I'll come back. You guys look at your data and see where we want to go and what kind of training we need. Then that became, they wanted more guided math training. So then we went out and found an online work at your own pace. So over the summer, I told them I was going to allow them to come in as a team, a grade level team, and kind of go through that training together. But looking at our data that our teachers looked at, I have 2 years. I don't have 19, 20 there because that's our years where we didn't have all of our data in the spring. But they don't look too bad. 62% meeting or exceeding for NWA, that's with national norms at second grade. And third grade was 40 in 2020-21, and then that jumped to 55. Fourth grade also jumped from 49 to 54. Our teachers found that, hey, one thing that we said, we're going in the right direction. Our grade levels look like they're going up. The trend looks like they're going up. But then when we look at our cohort, why is it not doing the same thing? So if you look at the cohort that's in 2020-21 as a second grader, 62% of them are meeting and exceeding. But then the next year, 21-22 as a third graders, only 55% of them were meeting or exceeding. And so we kind of said we're not meeting the needs of all of our kids. Go ahead. We also looked at our MCA data. And again, like I said, our trend looks like it's going up. We went from 41 to 54, 38 to 44 in third and fourth grade respectively. Second grade does not take the MCA, so they don't have any data there. So it looks like we're going up. But the nice thing to hear my staff talk as they talk about amongst themselves is we're not happy with the 44. We're not happy with the 54. And so where can we push ourselves so that we can get into the upper 60s? So what does this look like at Southview? All of our math classrooms have at least 3 stations, if not more. I know one of my teachers has, I think, 6 stations. And it's a lot of work to set up all those stations because you have to teach the students kind of what they need to do at each of those stations. Typically what will happen is there's a really short 5 to 10 minute core lesson that's taught to the whole group. And then the teacher puts up a chart on our interactive TVs, and it just says, hey, if you're this color group, you go to this station for today. And then there's a group so the different groups might be, a group might be working with manipulatives in a corner of the room. Another group might be working with fact fluency, so they might be doing flashcards with other kids that are at the same level as they are. We also have online pieces to our curriculum that our kids can kind of go through, and it works at their pace. But the key is all the kids are rotating to different areas, and our teacher is able to pull back a few kids at a time. So typically in the past, our teachers would do a 15 to 20, maybe 30-minute lesson, and then we would do, hey, it's homework time. And the teacher would work with the kids that struggle to do homework, or that basically the kids that didn't have support at home to finish the homework. Here, the teacher's able to be more specific and more intentional about who they bring back to the back table to meet with them. So some of our groups meet daily. Some of our groups meet every other day. Some of our groups might meet 4 out of 5 days, just depending on the need of the kids. And that's a lot of planning. That's a lot of time that our teachers are feeling like, hey, this is a lot of work, but I feel like we're getting the results we want, and we're feeling that we're able to meet more kids where they're at. Instead of just teaching to kind of the middle, now we can say, hey, you're struggling, but you're struggling because you don't know this part of it. So you can see the core instruction right away with the big group, but we're going to attack at your level when you come back to the back table. Another piece that we're putting into place starting this year was this E-Star number sense curriculum that we found. We are a title school, but we don't use our title teachers for math. We use it for reading interventions. But we do have 2 assurance of mastery teachers that work with our math students. And in the past, we've kind of utilized those to help with students that struggle to get their assignments done. We knew that they couldn't do their foundation, so we pulled them and did flashcards and whatnot. This allowed our assurance of mastery teachers to hand select. And actually what happened was I just told our math PLCs, any student that fell below the 25th percentile on the NWA test, we were going to pull those kids and run them through this number sense intervention. There's 20 different lessons that go into it. They're about 10 to 15 minute long lessons, but it teaches skills such as doubles plus 1, just things that some of our kids don't have down. And so I'm really excited to see our winter data. We are finishing up with NWA testing this week. And so we're going to pull our data from, especially with this cohort, this first cohort of kids that have gone through this. I think we have about 20 kids at 3rd grade and 20 kids at 4th grade that have gone through this. And the reason I picked E-Star has interventions in different areas. The reason why we picked number sense was that our weakest strand as a building was number sense. And as I said before, a lot of our kids struggle because they don't understand the meaning of numbers yet. So we have to really go back and teach the basics of what those mean. And so I'm really appreciative of those 2 assurance of mastery teachers and the work they're putting in. I think they're super excited about the program, and our classroom teachers are kind of seeing the fruits of that as well. And so now we kind of have to look at what do we do next. We've taken care of all the kids that are in the 25th percentile and below. Do we monitor those kids? Do we pull the next band of kids, the 26 through 35 and whatnot? So those are the discussions we're having. Any questions?
This your first year implementing?
Yes.
Okay, so it's a process of learning for your staff at the same time.
Yes.
You'll have some data to share next year,
Yeah.
which will be good. Thank you for your leadership with that, Peter.
When you say 75 minutes, is that all at one time, or is that throughout the day? Or
So most of our math classes are kind of together, and they're broken up into 3 chunks of 25.
okay.
And so realistically, they go into a station for 25 minutes and they'll rotate.
I just think 75 minutes
Yeah.
is a lot for a 3rd and 4th grader to
Right.
stay engaged.
And that's really kind of what the teachers brought up too, was we want those minutes, but we want those to be meaningful minutes.
Right.
And so we always talk about, students can concentrate for whatever their age is times the minutes. So if we're working with 9-year-olds, we're looking at 9 minutes at a time, and then they lose that attention span. So we're really focusing on doing different stations. So our classrooms do have different stations set out. We're encouraging the kids to be on the ground, working with their hands on tables, in the back table and whatnot.
Your teachers are owning the process, which is great. They came to you saying, we want in.
Yeah, and I feel like I'm blessed to have the teachers we have, that they want to do better. We know that it's going to take a lot of years to get our kids that went through this COVID stage to catch them up.
You've put a lot of work in this. We really appreciate all your efforts with that, Pete.
Thanks, Peter.
Yep, thank you.
Thanks, Peter.
Our next item is a consent agenda. I'll make a motion. I need a second.
I'll second.
I'll call for the vote. The consent agenda is approved. Next item is our financials. Mr. Karen.
You gotta do your thing first.
Oh, I'll make a motion that we approve.
Second?
Thank you, Sarah. Any discussion, Mr. Karen?
Yes, just to point out the debt service, a little over $3.4 million that we paid. That's annually towards our principal and interest. And then nothing really unusual. We had purchased some computer lab, some high school computer lab computers. We had to update those. The reason we actually have computers in those labs and don't use the one-to-one devices is the programs that they teach, the one-to-one devices, can't handle the programs that are put on those. So we updated those. And then there was also a bill to DTBS or DTB Systems for $32,000. That was to update the middle school intercom system, which was
Any other questions or discussion? Not, I'll call for the vote to approve the bills for December and January. They are approved. Next item is treasurer's report. Any info you want to share with that?
Yeah, I just wanted, if you looked at this year compared to prior years, our revenue is actually at 36.6% compared to 30% last year. We're trying to do better too. Leanna and I are working together to do better to draw the money that is available to us on a monthly basis instead of waiting every other month or quarterly. So you'll see somewhat of an increase into our general fund, and that's just we're trying to do better to get money in our pocket.
Very good. We
That's
like that.
available.
Our next item is any board updates.
We had the meeting of the Families Collaborative, and the our board had put out RFPs for grants again, due in March. We're putting 40-some thousand out there for the schools in Murray and Lyon County. We've had participants in the past, and for your sake, Sarah, each year our school district gets an amount of money to defray some expenses. This past year we've received $33,000 plus, which went to help pay for the middle school counseling position. That's all I've got.
The Bond Oversight Committee met last week to talk about the center, CTI location. We went through the preliminary plans, any potential changes and adjustments, and it looks like everything is still on track for that to open in the fall.
Good.
Good. Anything else? Next item is our administrative reports.
All right, two things to share with you guys tonight. My report, I talked about the CTI project as part of it, but Sarah kind of covered what we got going on there. So that's an exciting project, and we're really close to getting to start the construction there. Also, just working to communicate the calendar changes with inclement weather days, hoping the rest of this week we get to kind of stay as is. But calendar change at the last board meeting, just a reminder for people to accommodate that time. We did extend the end of the quarter, so the end of second quarter will be Wednesday, January 25th, and quarter 3 starts on Thursday, January 26th. There have been some questions about that Friday the 20th. There is still no school that day. That's a scheduled work day for our secondary teachers, and it's a comp day for pre-K through 4 teachers. So that stays the same as in the original calendar, and then the Monday, February 20th is what was approved to be the additional school day to make up for the January day. So lots of changes going on there. Teachers are also helping communicate that out with families, and we've sent some communications out. Early childhood, we are gearing up for the 23-24 preschool registration already. Tiffany's working hard on that, offering some online registration for families again this year there. Also, she's working on the grant for the VPK funding. That's something we apply to each year. That covers the cost for 4-year-olds to attend preschool, including transportation. The breakfast is part of that too. 3-year-old preschool is going to be 2 half-days a week for 23-24 again. And she is scheduled, or her and her staff are scheduling an open house on March 2nd. From 4 until 6 at the Early Childhood Center, where families can come and tour the building and register and ask questions and such from there. So it'll be a good event for them. Early Childhood is also scheduling their annual dance. So if anyone's interested, February 24th is the Early Childhood Dance. Planning is underway, and there's a lot of details will be coming out to families about that. So Bill, I saw you set up for that one if you're ready for the Early Childhood Dance. Your daughter's maybe a little old for that. Parkside administered the middle of the year Dibbles assessment just before they left for winter break. Some good scores there. Kindergarten, the fall scores, there were 22% of students at core support. So that means students that needed just the solid core instruction in the classroom. They're ready for that. To all the way up to 46% at the winter benchmark. That was a 24% improvement from fall until winter. So big improvement there. First grade was at 40% in core support in the fall, and in winter was up to 51% by winter benchmark. So that intensive support for kindergarten also was from 60% to 34%, so a lot fewer students needing that very intensive support. First grade dropped from 43 to 26%, so both grade levels saw a big change there. Southview, Pete talked about they had a lot of fun things going on the last couple months that I want to call out. SMSU men's basketball team invited students as a guest to be part of Elementary Schools Day. So all of our Southview students got to go to SMSU and attend a basketball game. It was a really exciting event for those kids to get to do that. Some kids get to go to that frequently, and some kids just don't. So they had a really good day doing that. They also recently had some presenters from Lion Lincoln Electric Cooperative. They shared an interactive presentation for 4th graders that talked about electricity. They talked, there's a lot of fun information, good information for the kids, reinforcing science standards that they're studying in class. These kids had fun and enjoyed the presentation and got some good information at the same time. Southview also recently completed the Dibbles assessment. They did that just before holiday break as well. They had actually some intervention teachers helping with that, and they went around and met with the different kids and gave these assessments. Saw a lot of students making adequate progress there. As a building, the percentage of students that either needed intensive or strategic support dropped from 53% to 47% at Southview. So big gains there as well. So good news with our Dibbles data. Middle school, she talked about the student council had some fun activities just before winter break. They put on, even with the weather, they put on some things. They had a hide a snowflake competition, and they did some dress up days. And we recently hosted the middle school spelling bee as well. That was in this room just last week. All students had a chance to participate by being part of a classroom level B. This year, Charles Mueller-Thompson and Lucienne Pearson finished 1st and 2nd place in 5th and 6th grade spelling bee. Roman Gall and Lauren Paulson finished 1st and 2nd in 7th and 8th grade spelling bee. The winners will represent the middle school at the regional spelling bee on February 7th in Redwood Falls. And just congratulations to all of those contestants. That's a big event here at the middle school to do that spelling bee. High school, Brian shares they had a LIFT grant that allowed students in semester 1 and semester 2 career internship, CEO, and intro ed class This grant will allow students from those classes to attend the monthly Young Professionals Luncheon through the Marshall Chamber. So we'll rotate students through. They get to go be part of that community-wide event, a good experience for kids in those leadership courses that we're offering. He also shares that the 23-24 registration book is in the final stages of completion. So we're going to start registering kids for next year in the very near future. 8th grade students and various feeder programs will start January and February to start that registration process. Also at the high school, On to College with John Baylor. It's our ACT prep program. We use it with our junior class, and that will start at the end of January here. The ACT is given on April 4th. We give it again at the high school during the school day. So students will do this prep program during 30 minutes of the 1-hour lunch, building up to that time. Maytech, Amanda shares that students who have been absent or enrolled during the fall testing window, they had the opportunity to take NWA reading and math assessments recently. That gives them a benchmark, a starting point to kind of give some assessments and look at where they're at and what interventions students at Maytech might need. She also shares that they're planning with the Minnesota National Guard for a visit with Maytech students. They'll come to Maytech over the lunch hour and spend time getting to know the students. They also take time to visit with students during a social studies class about what it takes to be in the National Guard and to serve our country. So some things that students are helping plan and organize at Maytech there. Activities, a lot of things going on, and certainly the weather he mentions in his has been a factor in impacting dates with events. Big South Dance competition recently took place, where Tigers took home first place in both jazz and kick. Wrestling team has found a lot of success this season. They won the Buffalo tournament last weekend, and 9th grade team just won the trip to state tournament last night, so you just approved a field trip for them to head up to that. Gymnastics, they had 3 cancellations, but we finally hosted our first gymnastics meet in our new space here, and it went really well. It was nice to put that space to use. Deanne put a lot of work in helping organize that and set that up for them, and it really went off well that evening. Hockey boys and girls programs recently awarded the Brady Rosa Spirit of Sportsmanship Awards. Lily Stelter and Tyler Welsh received those awards this year. Both are very deserving of the honor, so congratulations to Lily and Tyler. Athletic training, we've made some changes throughout the year with that program too, and we want to call out, we increased some hours here for winter, and that's working really well. We have coverage at most home events, and things are going more smoothly with that, so excited to have that opportunity. Teaching and learning, Beth shares that Access testing. Access is our EL students' annual assessment. It's given to all multilingual learners, K through 12, who have been identified as English language learners. It's given annually to monitor students' progress in learning English. It also meets U.S. federal requirements for the Every Student Succeeds Act. So we're required to give that, even if a student's been exited from EL through that last year, if they were enrolled in EL programming at any point during the year, they take the test to assess where they're at. So that will start soon. She also shares that February 17th, that afternoon, has been set aside for professional development time. So it's a noon dismissal for students, and staff have things planned for the afternoon. We're going to be continuing the focus of Know Your Why. That's been our theme for this year, where we kicked off, and PD days are centered around that. She also shares that they're partnering with Southwest Minnesota Private Industry Council and the Chamber of Commerce to host our first annual Youth Career Fair. This is a pretty big event we're really excited about. It's going to be held on the morning of February 17th. Local employers are invited to attend the event, which is geared towards summer employment opportunities and internships within the Marshall community. So our students will have the opportunity to go down, meet employers, ask questions, find out what kind of employment opportunities might be available, and we'll even have some time set up to do on-the-spot interviews and such, so students could actually leave having completed that interview from that event. So you'll see flyers and promotion about that, but if you know someone that might be interested in coming and attending that as an employer, we certainly are looking to build that as well. We're looking forward to that being a really good event and hoping to make that an annual event for our kids. Special ed, Jackie called out something really kind of fun this time too. We do the teacher impact grants every year through Pride in the Tiger. One of our high school teachers wrote a grant, and she has some pictures in your board packet too. Maybe Emily, you can throw that on the screen too. The grant this year, the request from the high school was for a wheelchair glider for students in the special ed classroom. This glider gives students in a wheelchair, an opportunity to be able to either rock themselves or be rocked by somebody else, like what a rocking chair would provide, but students in a wheelchair don't have that opportunity typically. So this wheelchair glider, they've placed it by the window in the special ed classroom. Students can see outside where they're rocking. For some of our students with higher needs, and it has been really well received in that classroom. She says the joy on their faces is really evident when they're using that. big smiles, and it's kind of fun. She said for some of the students to watch the peers who are not in wheelchairs requesting to use the glider, but that's something they can't use. So it's been a really positive item in that classroom. So she shared some pictures so you can see what it is, and certainly a big thank you to Pride in the Tiger for providing that to our students at the high school. Dion.
Just a few things to point out. Marshall Public School, the United Way campaign ended. We ended up raising $6,500, which is very awesome. Just pointed out some things. That our district office is busy day to day, but this is a real busy time for our office with W-2s, 1099s, ACA reporting, along with getting our COE award information together. Just a special thank you to our team that does a great job. Workers' comp, each year we have to submit the OSHA 300A report to the Department of Labor. And so by February 1st, our report for last year, the calendar year of 2022, we had 27 reported injuries, but 0 lost time. So that is very awesome. Because I had mentioned during the last meeting, when we talked about budget to actual, our premium had gone up for workman's comp premiums. They look at 3 years worth. Just had a meeting with our broker last week, and our experience mod, which is used to calculate off the premium, is estimated to drop from 1.64 to 1.49. So we should see a decrease next year. And then if everything goes well, if the winter cooperates and the ice, we should see another drop for 24, 25 because we've had some good years. So that'll help the budget out. Speaking of weather, just wanted to say a special thank you to the crew that removes the snow and does the salting. As you can imagine, it's been a pretty big headache for just cleaning off your own driveway. This crew has to do 4.5 locations, and they've done a spectacular job this winter. Hopefully it doesn't go to the summer. And then I just said a thank you to the crossing guards because they're out there every morning and afternoon in the snow, rain, and the cold. And then last, just wanted to share an update. Usually this time of year I share an update with the negative food balances. They're right around where they've been in the past. This was actually December 31st. It's changed quite a bit since then. We had about 3,200 in paid patrons. We had about 1,493 in free and reduced patrons. Since then, we received a donation of $1,000 to go towards towards food. So that'll go towards the free and reduced families. So that'll only leave about $493. I'm not sure if the word's out there, but we've received, I think this is our 4th donation towards our negative food balances, which is very awesome. So the next board meeting, that'll be out there for you guys to approve, and we're hoping that it was the Avera staff that donated it. Do a Tiger Spotlight for them.
Thanks, Dion. Our next item is our second review of policies 511 to 515. This is just information. Are there any questions, comments? Our first action item is the next item, resolution stating the intention of the school board to issue general obligation school building bond series 2023A.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion?
So part of our referendum bond that was approved by the voters back in 2019, it had a principal maximum limit of $29,800,000. We only went out with a principal of $28,735,000, which left $1,065,000 left over. We have the option now to, since the voters approved that amount, for the board to approve that extra amount that can be used towards projects throughout the district. I laid some of those out for the board, things like the high school carpeting, the middle school flooring, LVT, the cafeteria, redoing the wood floor in the middle school, along with a couple of activities. These are all on our 10-year LTFM. This would just free up some money to be able to move some of those projects up. As pointed out, we've got things like our high school roofing that's coming up probably in a couple of years. That's going to be around $3 million. We've talked about doing the middle school theater update. That's going to be anywhere from $500,000 to $600,000. Would love to see the theater done next summer, or actually started this fall. Once we get through our summer projects, I think we can do that actually during the school year in phases and hopefully get it done within a year. But be able to do that, just to be able to use these additional funds. The additional funds would have no taxpayer impact, because we just put it in our step down. So just asking for the board to approve the resolution, and then at a later date, we would do the sale of the bonds.
Do these bonds, and would they be on a whole different schedule? That was a question I got today.
I believe, yes, they would, because they'd actually be 2023.
Any other questions? Bill Mosel has made the motion, Bill Swope has seconded, and I will call for the vote. That is approved. Our next action item is to move to a closed meeting to discuss student expulsion. I'll make a motion.
Second.
Thank you, Sarah. Call for the vote.
Sherry, we'll be closed for maybe 5-10 minutes, and then we'll open back up. Do you have anything to share with them, or do you want us to just meet you down there when we're done, or?
I was just gonna stay till you were done and alert Randy, so
Okay.
put him on the front door and we can start everything.
Perfect. You want to just
Should I do it here?
meet us in the lobby when we open back up?
What?
You want to just meet us in the lobby when we open back up?
I'll
Okay.
stand out there.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, we are closed.